Imagine waking up one day and you can no longer take milk. This happened to me in 2021. So that's when the menopause symptoms started. That's the point where I can actually say in 2021, the very first symptom of menopause for me was a change in my gut health. So I had a meal with milk in it, sour milk, and I became very, very sick. I went to the doctor. They did several tests. I went for a gastroscopy. I went for many, many tests. They tested if I'm no longer a celiac. A lot of tests were done, and she said, no, you are just lactose intolerant and you should no longer take milk. This was a shock to me because I've always liked milk. I drink tea all the time. I love my tea with milk. So for me, this was the very first thing that happened. It affected my gut health. And my stomach became very irritable. Anything I ate would just come out, or I would spend the day with nausea and a lot of epigastric pain. So I started to take lactose-free milk. So it might sound funny, but this was the very first symptom that I had in 2021. The major thing that happened in 2021, besides the lactose intolerance, was a change in my menstrual cycle. So I went and got a shot of Depo-Provera, which is a contraceptive injection. And instead of it doing what it's supposed to do, I bled. I had menses from around April up until August. And at some point during which I had to be admitted in hospital because I was just bleeding too much. And the diagnosis at that point was that I have adenomyosis. And I say this is the first time I've ever heard about that. I've never had that. I don't know what you're talking about. So they gave me a lot of medication to control that. And then around August, the bleeding stopped. But since then, right up to end of 2024, sometimes I had double menses, sometimes in a month. So I would have 2 weeks bleeding, or it would start and then stop and then start and then stop 2-3 times within like 6 weeks. So it was one of the major symptoms that something was going on within my system. And I'd stopped taking any contraception. So that became one of the major symptoms for me. So you can imagine that, in 1 year, my body has changed to like a bleeding machine. So I was just continuously bleeding, having double menses, and I had a new diagnosis called adenomyosis. What is that? Like, where did that come from? And then lactose intolerance. That meant I couldn't eat cheese. I couldn't eat any dairy. I couldn't eat yogurt. I couldn't. And all that. So it's not really about what I couldn't eat. And because of the bleeding, it's not because menses are a new thing to me. But it's the psychology of all that happening in your body. I really thought something was going on with me. So the anxiety and the depression, mental health, wellness became very poor because I was always anxious. I was always scared that I would sit in a bus or I would sit at work. I changed 2 chairs at work, guys, because I would get up and then sometimes the chair is damaged by blood. So it became really, really hard to understand what was going on in my body. And it took a toll on my mental health. And that's when the anxiety and the stress and the pressure started to creep in. Just in 1 year, a lot had happened. A lot had happened in my life.